So I just wanted to kind of check in with you on how have you either experienced that, and what's been your mechanism to tackle that, where strategy can shift or priorities can shift on a more like yearly basis.
Yeah, I think the keyword is flexibility, Priyanka. As product leaders, that's something that I think it's inherent in the DNA in some sense. You got to be flexible, you got to be adaptable, you keep your eyes and ears open, and the way the environment is changing and changes, you can't be so rigid and firm about that particular direction or that path. And being flexible, I think, is the key word here in order to be able to kind of modify change as you see these things come in, so that the goal perhaps remains the same, but maybe it changes as well based on these new things that show up. But being flexible about it is, to me, the game changer.
Mhm.
If you add that to the previous point of learn, iterate, grow, and be flexible, maybe that kind of completes the picture. Maybe there's a few more
Yeah.
things in there, maybe communicate or something. But yeah, I think that kind of completes the picture on how can or one can be really set up for a more being more resilient and being a little bit more successful in that balance, I guess.
You almost you were leading into the next question, follow-up question I had when you were talking about this is, as a product leader, you can be flexible and you know these things. And then at the same time, there are people in the teams that you lead, everybody from product managers to engineers to designers. And not everybody, I mean, yes, the flexibility muscle needs to be strong, but not everybody sees it the same way. So, how do you now help them understand that, yes, things are changing and here's how we intend to go about it? Because that is you touched upon communicate, and that's why it came to me.
Yeah, it's a hard one, Priyanka. It's really hard one. There's a couple of things that come to mind. I would say neither of them are perfect, perhaps. One is the difference between a startup and a larger company. In a larger company, and again, I know you have seen this, you probably need to do a bit more socializing just because it's needed. Just there's too many people involved. There's many connection links in the chain. In a startup, it's a little bit easier to make a call and just move with it. I think it just can't do it just because the teams are smaller and at times that fast and quick turnaround is needed. So I think it
Mhm.
comes in inherently in the size of the company per se. I think the other thing to keep in mind is the top down versus bottom up. It's a very classic framing, but
Yes.
both are at times needed and valuable. I think it's incorrect to say that that top down is always right. Top down is not necessarily always right because everyone, including me, when we have been on the front lines, we see data points, we see things changing that perhaps others don't, and I think that input is extremely valuable. So you got to get those inputs in to make a call, which is the bottoms up part of it. But then if you just continue to do bottoms up and kind of aggregate up, it might take a long time and things can get lost in the mix, right? And so the top down has got its own value, it got its own merit in coming in and establishing that clarity and direction. And then potentially the execution can be a lot more successful. So there is that balance, if you will, of top down, bottoms up, and making some calls which again could vary by size of the company, size of
Mhm.
the place that you work in, because you got to be able to socialize and or just act fast if you're really in the startup environment. So yeah.